My name's Dane Hillard. I am a one and a half time author with Manning, I guess. So I've written one book with them, Practices of the Python Pro, which is a light introduction to software design and extensibility concepts with Python examples. And then I am working on a new book with them called Publishing Python Packages, all about sort of a maintainable, repeatable process with authoring packages in Python. On my day-to-day job, I work on web applications at Ithaca on the JSTOR website. How about you, Reuven?
I had no idea you were working on that new book on packaging. Wow, that is so needed. Okay, I'm gonna ask you more about that in a little bit. I'm gonna take advantage of this. So my name is Reuven Lerner. I have my own consulting business for about 25 years now. And I'm a full-time Python trainer. So just about every day I'm with a different company, city, country, used to be physically, now it's online, teaching Python, everything from Python for non-programmers all the way up to advanced Python workshops. And I also have written, well, I'll be generous and say it's 1.5 books. There's the one book that I've actually written, Python Workout, right next to me here conveniently for showing to everyone. And then which is 50 exercises, which is a lie. It's really 200 exercises, but we call it 50 because it's smaller, less scary number. Exercises to help you improve your Python fluency. And I'm working now on the Pandas workout, which is strangely 50 exercises disguising 200 exercises to help you improve your Pandas fluency. And I just earlier today got about halfway through chapter 3. I'm super excited. And hopefully it'll be up at the MEEP, the early action program. I'm guessing another 2-3 months, although my editors will laugh at that, with at least a few initial chapters. What did we decide to call this session? I think it's like the expanding world of Python. Is that what we're doing?
Yeah, that's right.
This might come as no surprise to like anyone watching this. Python is like ridiculously, crazy, outrageously, like explosively popular nowadays. How long have you been using Python? Like quite a while also, yeah?
Yeah, I started using it either as part of or on the side of my previous job. So it's been at least 7 years and probably longer than that by a couple of years. So almost 10 years now.
Okay. So I started using Python back in like 1993. You learned it from the man page and like the tutorial. And it was like a few people who used it. And then it like got more and more and more popular. I think in many ways is like other high-level languages sort of died out for various reasons or didn't gain popularity. And now it's like hard to find a company organization that does not want to use Python, which by the way is like great for business. But the thing is like, so where is Python not now? And where does it seem to be going is I guess where we should start off.
Yeah, for sure. And you dated yourself, so I'll date myself too. Fun fact for me is that the first release of Python came out the month I was born.
Well, we know who's old here.
Yeah, 1989. So, I mentioned that I do web application development, and it's kind of interesting because one space for sure that is kind of controversial, I guess, or lots of discussions happening about it is in the web space, right? And part of the challenge there is, of course, that JavaScript is the ubiquitous language of the web and has been for a long time. But with recent advances with WebAssembly and things like that, right, you have new vectors to kind of get into that space with. And there are a couple things in Python aiming to do just that. But it is still maybe one of the more fledgling areas.
I haven't really followed this that closely, but if I understand correctly, WebAssembly is sort of like a machine language or assembly language that sits in the browser. And so if you have something that compiles to WebAssembly, then it can run the browser also, just like JavaScript. Did I get that roughly right?
That's my understanding too. Yeah. So there are a couple of projects. Brython is one that I know of, and Pyodide is another project that seeks to target WebAssembly. And yeah, I think the idea is like you could use Python as your interface to the web to interact with the page document object model and anything that JavaScript can do. There are a couple projects, and maybe Brython is one of them, where it kind of emulates how JavaScript is with how it interacts with the document model. And I've seen that some people don't like that as much and would prefer to, kind of repeat the domain specific language part in a more Pythonic way rather than kind of emulating JavaScript. It's like super early stages for some of that stuff. And I don't know a lot about it either. I haven't explored it in depth.
I was back there when the web started and did some stuff at that time. And I was also at the unveiling of Java as a language back in New York City in 1995. And that's because of that, like a whole marketing to do. That's why they called JavaScript, like to match up with the Java language. In any event, at that time, there was actually some talk about having other languages do it as well. And there was like a plugin for Python, and that went exactly nowhere. So, it's nice to know it's actually going somewhere. That's very impressive. What about like everyone's favorite platform nowadays, which is mobile? And again, I'm kind of ignorant on that, but I know that there are a whole bunch of people who are like trying to get it to work.
There's, I think, a couple projects in that space, but certainly I haven't seen a ton that are taking off, I would say. I think with some languages, you have mobile targeting frameworks that work with your preferred framework to kind of just get it out the door automatically. With React Native, I think Python would need something of that sort of nature to really get people curious enough and sort of excited enough to jump on board in a way that would reach critical mass. Beware is a project. The tagline is sort of like write Python, run it anywhere. I don't know if I got that verbatim, but the idea being that you can write the code that you're used to and target it to a number of platforms with minimal sort of additional legwork on your part. So Beware has a thing called Briefcase that's trying to target OS native applications. So I think that's Mac OS and iOS at least. I think there's also some Windows stuff in there. So that one's kind of interesting. I know nothing about mobile development, generally speaking. I think I did like one Android project quite some time ago, before Python for sure.
I use a Mac. I've been using Mac for a number of years. Behind me, you can see an old Mac, which I did not use. And then next to it is a Next machine, which I did use so many years ago. And so I'm very comfortable with the Mac and Unixy stuff. And so people were very surprised that I got an Android phone. And the reason was very simple. I was like, well, because I want to use Python to program my phone. And I don't know, I've had an Android phone for like 8-10 years now, and I've yet to write even a single line of anything having to do with Android development because I actually am busy with other things. Even though I keep saying, I really should do this, I really should learn this. And I keep seeing the Beware stuff. There's also something called Kivy, which I don't know much about, that I know also sort of allows you to write in Python and work on your phone. And it seems to me like this has to be, like the folks who are working on these projects, they understand like everything is mobile now. And if you're not on mobile, then like you basically don't exist or there's no way to keep up that momentum. So it's impressive to see, like the demos I've seen have been very impressive. I don't quite get how they get it to work on iOS, given that's supposed to be this closed ecosystem, but it seems that they are able to do that. So like, kudos to them on that.
Yeah. Hey, Curious Dev Cookie, welcome. I forgot about Kivy. I have heard of that one too, for sure. What's interesting too is I guess that, mobile and the web are slowly converging, right? There's this idea of progressive web apps, and they provide almost a native-like experience, and they give ways to do things when the user is offline, and do data syncing between offline and online states. So I wonder if, as Python looks to target WebAssembly, if that narrative will also kind of come into the picture. And maybe it is now.
You're right. Like, back in olden times when I was doing web application development, like we didn't even think about such things. But nowadays we have such sophisticated stuff going on. Like if you're disconnected from the network and you're writing into your Google Docs document, you want it to say, hey, I'm disconnected. I'm going to cache this locally. And then when I reconnect, I'm going to send it up to the network. And so presumably, like, Python's going to have to be able to do that to be taken seriously. And if it can do it easily and nicely, which is sort of a hallmark of the language, then that's going to, that'll really push things ahead.